With the Switch 2 being released a couple months ago with its new mouse functionality, there are some in the Mario Maker community who have renewed hope that perhaps a Mario Maker 3 could be on the horizon. Because if there's any game that would benefit from being able to use a mouse, it'd be Mario Maker. And while that would be cool if it were true, I'm just not particularly optimistic. Now, I don't like being a negative Nancy, I'm not one who enjoys squashing people's hope, but I just don't see any way Nintendo is releasing another Mario Maker installment. And this is all conjecture, and it's obviously just my humble opinion, but here are 4 main reasons I think we're never going to get a Mario Maker 3. First, Mario Maker 2 sales were disappointing for Nintendo. I think it's really easy for people in the Mario Maker community to overestimate how popular Mario Maker 2 actually was, and how well it sold. Especially at its peak, when the community was most active. It really did feel like everyone was playing the game, like every streamer was streaming it. It felt like it was everywhere. But in reality, that wasn't really the case. Now, it did sell 8.4 million copies, which is not bad, that's totally respectable. But for more context on why this was disappointing, I think we have to look at Mario Maker 1. That game sold 4 million copies on the Wii U, a console that, by the end, only sold 13.5 million units. That means almost 1 in 3 Wii U owners bought Mario Maker 1. That's a staggering percentage, it's bananas. So when Mario Maker 2 came out on the wildly more successful Switch, which had already sold 50 million units at that point and had no sign of slowing down, Nintendo obviously thought the sequel would do some serious numbers. But in the end, it only sold twice as many copies as Mario Maker 1, on a console that sold 152 million units. And again, 8 million copies isn't bad, it's fine. But it's not even in the top 20 games sold on the console. Compared to some of the best-selling games, it's not even close. And because of these disappointing sales, we come to the second point of why I don't think we're gonna get a Mario Maker 3. And that is, Nintendo completely abandoned Mario Maker 2. The last big update for Mario Maker 2 was in April 2020, at which point Nintendo announced there would be no more major updates. That was over 5 years ago now. Nintendo just completely abandoned the game. No new DLC, no new ninja runs. There were rumors that there was going to be a whole Mario Bros. 2 theme, but that was cut down to just a power-up. Hell, they could have just released a new music bundle and it would have brought people back to playing the game. But no, nothing. And I've heard people say, oh, they stopped updating it because they're saving content for Mario Maker 3. And man, like, maybe, but honestly, it doesn't feel like that at all. What it feels like is that Mario Maker 2 sales had slumped. The major updates that they had released didn't translate into an increase in sales or user base, at least not to what they wanted, and so they decided to stop putting more time, money, and resources into a property that they weren't seeing a return on. So in light of this, the fact that they essentially gave up on Mario Maker 2, it doesn't instill much confidence that they would then choose to put even more money and resources into a sequel game that would honestly most likely sell even less. Which is my point number 3. A large Mario Maker user base just isn't there anymore. Most people who bought Mario Maker 2 were casual players who bought the game as a novelty and played it for a while before moving on to other things. They were never super hardcore into it or anything. These people already had their fun with it, and I just can't see them coming back to purchase a Mario Maker 3. Especially if it's like $70+, but that's another conversation. And also, I think many people who were really into Mario Maker, at this point have also moved on. Yes, there is still an active, dedicated community playing and streaming the game, which is great. But interest for it has waned significantly, partly due to Nintendo's lack of updates, but also because people have honestly become burnt out on it. I myself spent hundreds of hours making levels, building a world, watching streamers play, submitting levels. I was big into the community for a long time, but at some point I, like a lot of people, just moved on to other things. And while I do think a Mario Maker 3 would be cool and I'd definitely buy it, I just don't see myself dumping the same amount of time and energy into it as I did before. And a lot of level creators have moved on to other, more robust level creation tools, like making Super Mario World ROM hacks or original games altogether. Will these people buy Mario Maker 3? Probably. But again, how long will it hold their interest? I doubt as long as previous installments. And you may say, well, there are still very popular streamers and YouTubers who play Mario Maker levels and get tons of views. It's still popular. And yes, those people are getting views, but how many people watching are actually still playing the game? Most people want to watch someone else get trolled by Kaizo blocks more than they want to hit them themselves. So as much as I hate to say it, I just don't think Mario Maker 3 would sell particularly well, or retain a large player base for a very long time. And I think Nintendo knows that. And now my fourth point. which is the fact that Nintendo released Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm not one of those people who thinks Mario Wonder was this amazing game changer for 2D Mario, like a lot of other people think. But what I will give Nintendo credit for is that they made a new 2D Mario game that would be almost impossible to translate into Mario Maker. Yes, you could do the power-ups, and I think you could even make the badge system work, but the main gimmick of the game, the thing that everyone would want to play around with, the Wonder Flowers, would be extremely difficult to program into Mario Maker. Because how would they work? You create a level and then create a second adjusted level for how it changes when you get a Wonder Flower.
Or would each item and enemy have separate Wonder Flower properties that you then apply to them? Or would there be a selection of pre-programmed effects that trigger when you get a Wonder Flower, which would get boring really quickly? And there are also separate power-ups that are unique to the Wonder Flower. How would those work and interact with everything else?
If anything, a Mario Wonder Maker would either be too complex for your average player to use, or it would be made too simplistic to be interesting. And even if Nintendo somehow did find a way to make a functional toolset for Mario Wonder, would they actually do it? Again, given the previous points, would Nintendo really spend the time and money developing an entire new toolset from scratch, testing the thousands of interactions not just with the normal items, but how they'd work with the Wonder Flower too? I'm sorry, I just don't see them putting the resources toward that. And so, if Mario Wonder isn't in Mario Maker 3, then honestly, what would be the point? If the new Mario Maker doesn't have the most recent 2D Mario game, then it really doesn't have a reason to exist. Yes, they could put even more items and enemies in, more music, more modes, etc. But is that really enough to warrant an entire new release? If they wanted to add that stuff, they could have just added it to Mario Maker 2. Mario Maker 3 would need to be something more, something new, something special. And realistically, are the majority of Switch 2 owners going to rush to buy it just because you can put in charging chucks now? Obviously, for the dedicated Maker community, the answer is yes. But I just don't think your average casual player is going to care. So now many people may say, well, if it's not going to be a 2D Mario Maker, maybe it'll be a 3D Mario Maker. Which I guess is a fifth point. A 3D Mario Maker is even less likely. Not that a 3D Maker wouldn't be cool and can't be done. Just last year, a couple Mario 64 fans created the Mario Builder 64 ROM hack, which is a toolset to build Mario 64 levels. It works well and is really comprehensive and has lots of options. It's very cool and proves that the concept can work. But again, I just don't see Nintendo putting the resources into doing that themselves. And more than that, I don't think the majority of people would really want to play a 3D Mario Maker. Think about it. In Mario Maker 1 and 2, the majority of the levels people have created are honestly pretty bad. Many of them pretty much unplayable. And that's using basic 2D level design. Creating 3D levels is a much more difficult and complicated task. And there's probably only a handful of people who could actually make fun, engaging, functional 3D Mario levels. 99.9% of the uploaded levels in a 3D Mario Maker would be absolute unplayable trash. So yeah, as much as it hurts to say, I think Nintendo has closed the book on the Mario Maker franchise. Could I be wrong? Definitely. Anything could happen. Nintendo loves throwing curveballs and surprising people. But I'm just not holding my breath.